$1 million. That's why many American workers say they'll need to retire comfortably, but for most, it's nowhere near reality. A new survey from Schroders, an investment management company, reveals a growing gap between what people hope to save and what they actually will save. Nearly half of workers expect to retire with less than $500,000. and more than a quarter with less than $250K. For more insight now, let's welcome Jason Matthews of Matthews Financial Service or Insurance and Solutions. And Jason, it's nice to see you again.
Definitely.
You and I were talking before we went on the air. You said something very interesting. A lot of it is most of us accumulate wealth, but then we get in trouble when we take the disbursements.
Correct. So I always say is it's just like if you look at when people go up Mount Everest, it's easier to accumulate wealth, but when most people go downfall, that's when most of the fatalities happen. And just like retirement, as we get retired, it gets a lot more complicated as we have to figure out when we should get our Social Security. You got to pay Medicare, taxes, kids are out the house, and it gets long-term care, taking care of our parents as well. So it's very tough to really think about how much we actually need to save for retirement.
You know, $1 million used to go a whole lot longer. Let's just say, I don't know, choose $1 million, you have that in your 401k. You don't really have $1 million, do you?
No. So let's say that you have $1 million just in your 401k plan. First thing you have to pay, Uncle Sam, right? So if you pay Uncle Sam that could be 30, 40, even possibly depends on your tax bracket, up to 50%. So half of that might be possibly gone before you even take a dollar to enjoy yourself.
So how can you plan against, you can't plan against taxes, but can you plan to make a more efficient use of your money and also, some of the tax preparations you can make?
Yeah. So great question. So there's a couple things you can do. So I know we all like to have money just in our 401k plan, but you really, during our accumulation stage, we should be having some type of tax diversification because $1 million in your 401k plan might look $1 million different in our brokerage account or even our tax-free bucket, which would be more like our Roth IRA or our Roth 401k plan. So what we should be doing is, yes, take your employer matching your 401k plan. If your employer offers it, also contribute towards your Roth 401k plan, 403b, 457, and if you underneath the income bracket threshold, put money into your Roth IRA as well.
What is the biggest mistake that people make when they get there and they think that they have enough?
They overspend. They see this big, gigantic money, and the first thing they do, they want to buy things and overspend, and they don't have a plan. And they aren't considering what happens if they get sick, how my tax ramifications are going to be when I take out the funds. They just go ahead and just making moves. They're not very strategic. That's the biggest mistake. Second biggest mistake, to be honest, taking care of kids or parents. We think we have this in lump sum. We can help out our kids. We can help out our parents, give them some money. It can be a lot more expensive than we thought. And so before we do that, should we actually put together a plan for that?
So it's better to take care of yourself first, and then maybe, when you pass on, the kids will get whatever's left over.
Exactly. That should be the best way, right? And unless you have excessive amount of funds. But before you make anything, you need to make sure that you're secure. The kids can always go to the bank to get a loan for college or for their home, but there's no loan for mortgage for retirement. So with that being said, you got to make sure that you have enough to live for a long time, right? 100 years ago, we probably lived to 65, 67. Now we're seeing our life expectancy when we do financial planning is like 90 to 94 years old. You should be trying to live that long, and how much is that going to cost you in the long term, especially with all this inflation?
Well, it's hard to determine how long we're going to live, and all of us want to live long, but people run out of money if they think, I'm not going to make it past 80, and here you are, 85. What happens then?
That's tough. That's why you have so much seniors in poverty right now. They're struggling. They're in poverty, especially now we're getting rid of more and more government benefits for the poor. So you really got to take advantage. It's a very tough situation for a lot of people at that point. They might consider if they own a home, they might look at doing a reverse mortgage at that point. They might have to move in with their kids. It gets very tough and tight at that stage of life.
All right, Jason Matthews, we're going to have you on Take Two, which is the show that comes on our streaming platform right after this. We're going to go a little deeper into this because a lot of people, I think, have questions about this. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you in just a bit.